So today I'm going to show you how to make some basic palm trees like this, and then I'll show you how to add them to a plane like so. Let's get into it. So to get started with the palm tree, we're going to go ahead and delete the default cube and add ourselves in a cylinder. And on this cylinder, in this drop down over here, we're going to want to open that up and then change the vertices to 8. That's going to give us this nice octagon shape for our tree trunk. And how we're going to do this is really simple. We're just going to go into edit mode by hitting tab, hit 3 for face select, select our top face. We're going to scale it outwards a little bit. Then we're going to inset it with I, and then extrude upwards. And this is how we're going to make the trunk. So we'll scale this out, inset with I, extrude up, scale it out, inset with I, scale it up, or extrude it up. And we're just going to repeat this process until we have about the height we want for the trunk. So I'm just going to time lapse that real quick. Okay, now that we have our tree trunk size, I went ahead and scaled it and just made it skinnier because I thought it was a little too fat. So once you do that, make sure you press Control A and scale if you would change the scale at all. But yeah, this is a pretty good trunk size. And if we see when we rotate this thing, the origin points down there, which is what we want, just in case we add this to a particle system or we give it a deform modifier so it blows in the wind a little bit. But yeah, this is our base trunk and is what we're looking for. So now the next step is going to be doing the top bit right here. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this by hitting Shift D, and I'll smooth it over a little bit just in case we happen to mess up or you happen to mess up. It'll always be better this way if we have an extra bit. So on this top piece, we're going to want to scale this out just like we did before. Then I'll inset it one more time, extrude it upwards, except this time we're going to scale it out quite a bit. And this is where all the leaves are going to connect. Then we'll extrude it up again, scale it out a bit, extrude it up again, scale it in, extrude up, scale it in. And then this top piece is already filled just like that. So now we have our entire trunk finished, and we can go ahead and give that a material actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and render preview, and we're going to turn off scene world, and we're going to click on this, and we're going to use a forest right here. So for the material, we're going to go ahead and give this a brown. So I'll press new, we'll call it trunk. Oops, my caps lock. Trunk, it's okay, same difference. Anyways, let's just go ahead and give it a brown, just like that. Let's lower the saturation, but lower the value as well. And I think that's a pretty good brown. And then we'll go ahead and apply that to this as well. And I'll go ahead and fix the name actually, it's annoying me. There we go. So now the next step is going to be adding leaves. So we're gonna go ahead and hide these two guys. Then we'll press Shift A, add ourselves a plane. So with this plane, let's go back to solid view. We're gonna go into edit mode, select everything. We're gonna rotate it on the y-axis 90 degrees. And then we're going to grab everything and move it up on the Z so the origin point is just about under everything, just like that. Then we're going to right click and hit subdivide and change the number of cuts to 2. And that's going to give us our base mesh. So now we're going to be wanting to change this into a leaf shape. And to do that, it's really simple. Just go into vertice select. We're going to have everything selected. Now we're going to grab and move everything up above the origin point. Then we're going to take these two middle pieces right here. We're going to grab them and move them down. Then we're going to scale them in. And then we're going to extrude Z. And that'll be the stem where the leaves connect. And we actually want this to be a little bit higher up. So I'll select all these vertices, grab them, move them up on the Z, just like that. So now we have this bigger connecting piece, and we can actually scale this down a bit. Those two like that. Then on this top part, we're going to select these two. I will enable proportional editing real quick by hitting this circle right up here. You can also press O, it'll turn it on and off. Then we're going to hit G and Z, move it upwards, and basically we're just forming our leaf shape right now. I think this is pretty good. But we're going to take these two vertices on the side and we're going to scale them out just a little bit. Actually, yeah, just a little bit, just so everything fits better. And now I do think that it's a little bit too fat. So we're just like all these vertices up here, we're going to scale it down, Shift Z. And I think that's a pretty good palm tree leaf shape. So now that we have that, we're going to want to create duplicate versions of this. And to do that, we're going to go out of edit mode. We'll press Shift D and then Y, just like this. Now we have an extra leaf. And if you want to add a point at the top, it's not too difficult. So I would just select these two vertices right here and press subdivide. And then you can hit G and Z and lower the proportional editing and move it up like that. So we'll have a leaf of both kinds if you want. Then we can duplicate this guy again. So Shift D and Y. And we want this to have some texture into the leaf. So we'll press Tab. We're going to hit K to activate our knife tool. And we're going to go and select this edge here, just in a spot, select this middle edge, and then this edge again, and press Enter. And that'll give us this face. Then we can press X and delete the face, and it'll give us this nice cut. Now you might notice we have an N-gon created, it's not a quad anymore. And the same thing with this shape right here. And so if you want, you can go back with your knife tool and you can touch it up to make sure you only have quads if you want your topology to be better. So yeah, now that you've touched up the topology, all you have to do is create as many leaf variations as you want. I'll go ahead and just create one more. So let's duplicate this guy. And we want this one to have a cut down here. So let's do something like this. And then select this face, X faces, go back to vertices, and we do only have quads and triangles on this one, so we'll keep it as is. So now we have our 4 leaves, and we want to place these in our trunks now. So let's re-enable the original trunk, and we'll select all of our leaves like this. I'll grab them and move them upwards. They're all pretty small, so I'm going to actually rotate them on the y-axis 90 degrees so we get a rough estimate of how big they actually are. And I'm going to scale these guys up so that they're about a good size. Scale them up a little bit more. I think that's a little big. Scale them down. I think that's okay. Alrighty, and now that we've scaled them all up, we're going to go ahead and apply their scale. So press Ctrl A and scale. So we have our 4 leaves, and we can go ahead and take those and rotate them on the z-axis and then place them approximately on our trunk like this, as they might be on an actual palm tree. And don't worry about the bend, we will be getting to that momentarily. Let's put that here, rotate Z, and then just position these guys like so. So we have about a few leaves. We'll duplicate these in a bit, don't worry. So now we're going to select one of our leaves. We're going to give it a modifier, and we're going to give it a simple deform modifier, just like this. And we're going to switch it to bend. We're going to switch the axis to Y. And what this does is it gives the leaves some nice bend, just like that. And we can actually bend this as much as we want, or as little as we want. We can bend it the other way. And this will give us a nice look. So then we can select our other leaves, and then select the one with the modifier last, press Ctrl L, and copy modifiers. That'll give all of them the same modifier. And what's cool is we can change the bend individually for each one. And say we like this leaf, we can duplicate him, rotate Z, and then grab him, move him up here. So we'll scale him down a little bit, give him a little bit different bend. And just like that, we have customizable leaves. All right, so now that we have our base palm tree, we can go ahead and give the leaves a material. Let's give them a green. So new, we'll call it green leaf, just like that. And then let's give them a green, and we'll darken it a little bit. It's not bad. I actually think our brown on the trunk is a little bit too dark, so we might do that, change that in a second. Oh, and for the materials, what I just did is if you do the same thing you did for the modifiers, you can select all the ones without the material, select this one last, Control L, and link materials. So this brown is a little too dark, so let's brighten it up a little bit, increase the saturation, and that's looking a lot better. So now for the leaves, I actually want to increase the amount of them. So we'll just Shift D and rotate these guys around, scale some of them up, rotate some of them on their y-axis, but then rotate them back down with some bend, giving them a nice look like that. And then we'll do the same thing. This one doesn't have any cuts on it, but that's okay. He doesn't need them. We'll make this leaf a lot smaller, give it less bend. Yeah, nice. These are looking pretty good. So once we have a good amount of leaves, we can actually convert it to a mesh if we want to, unless we want to create duplicates. If we want to create a duplicate, what I recommend doing is selecting everything, press Ctrl A and scale, Then hit Shift D, move to the side, and I would actually take my trunk, go into edit mode, select some vertices like this, and then you can grab them and with proportional editing on, I'd up the circle a lot with your mouse wheel like that, and then you could give it some curve. And then you can actually also use the rotate tool and it'll work just fine, just like that. So now the leaves are a little off kilter, so we can select all of them, and we can rotate them sideways like this, grab here, and then make sure that they're all lined up in the tree. And just like that, we have 2 palm trees. And obviously, if we want to, we can, we could grab it and move them along their axes and make sure that they are fitting in the tree nicely. We can change their scales and everything, up some, lower some, change their bendiness. And just like that, we have 2 unique palm trees. And obviously we can do this as many times as we like. But now I'll go ahead and show you how to add them to a plane or a landscape with a particle system. So first things first, you're going to want to move all of this to a new collection. So I would press M, new collection, and I'll call it palm tree original. And this is going to be our backup just in case we mess anything up. So then once we've done that, we're going to go up here into the corner with our palm tree original, right click and duplicate collection. Then we're going to hide the original and call this new one palm tree meshes. Just like that. So that's what we're looking at right here. So now that you've done all that and you have your duplicates, you're going to want to select all the objects in the scene. In the new one, dot the original, make sure you turn those off all the way. Right click, convert to mesh. Now that you've done that, all these objects have their modifiers applied and everything. And if you're working in a game engine environment, so all these are going to go into Unity or Unreal or something like that, you can actually give these a solidify modifier before you convert it to a mesh, so that all the leaves have some sort of thickness to them, so you don't get those weird see-through faces. But yeah, anyways, now what I'm going to do is take all of these objects, and you can select the trunk last, and press Ctrl J. What that'll do is it'll make everything one object, and you can move it like this. I'll do the same thing with this. Select all the objects, select the trunk with Shift Select and Ctrl J. And now we can rotate and move this, and it works fine. So now to add these guys to a particle system, in Blender, for some reason, the particle systems work better if it's rotated on the sideways for some reason. So we're going to take both of these, rotate Y, and we'll hit 90 degrees. Then we'll press Ctrl A and apply the rotation, just like that. So then we can hit Shift A, add a mesh, we can add a plane, scale it up for y'all, just like this. And then we're going to add our particle system, just like so. Call it hair. We're going to choose advanced. As we can see, the hair is actually going under our particle system, under our plane, which is not what we want. So we'll press Ctrl A and scale so that it's going on the top. So then we're going to go down over here, render as, collection, and in the collection, we're going to choose the palm tree meshes. And that'll give us our palm trees just like this. Obviously, this is way too much, so let's lower this to like 100. And then we're going to go into check the rotation, change the orientation axis to, I believe, object X. Nope, object Z, object Y. Sorry about that, I forgot how to get them going straight. But what you want to do is you want to go down here to object rotation and check that. Because if you uncheck it, it won't put them vertical. So check object rotation, select pick random, and then you can do object Z. And then that will orient everything upwards. And you can actually randomize the rotation a little bit so that they have some random bend and twist to them. I wouldn't go overkill with this, otherwise it'll look like some of them are falling over like that. But yeah, randomize that a little bit. Randomize the phase as well, which will give them a random 360 degree spinning, which is actually the best one in my opinion. Just like that, because now it doesn't look as repetitive. So then for the scale, you can just up the scale, lower the scale as much as you need to. Change the scale randomness so that you have different sized palm trees. And just like that, we have a little palm tree forest. And then obviously this would be on top of something like sand, which would be something like sort of like a reddish hue, reddish white. And voila, we have ourselves a palm tree beach. So yeah, that is how you make some basic low poly palm trees in Blender. I hope you found this useful and can use these in your little beach scenes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later.